The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Parshat Ve'era. Parshat there, Exodus 6. Exodus 6, verse 13. 6:13. Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, and he commanded them and to Paro, the king of Egypt. So Rashi makes an incredible comment, Moshe. Rashi on Exodus 6:13. I don't know what page it is in the blue book, but
321.
Page 321 in the blue book, 6:13. He commanded them to Paroi. What command did he give them to Paroi? Rashi says, Tzivam olaf lachlak loikavoy b'divrayim. God warned Moses and Aaron, when you speak to Paroi, make sure you speak with him with what? B'kuvadik, with respect and dignity. Hello, this is Stalin. This is the Russia Marusha. God has to say to Moses and Aaron, beware, when you speak to Paro, you should speak to him in a kuvadik oifen. In English you would say with dignity and respect. What the heck is going on over here? What is Rashi talking about? You're talking to this Russia Marusha, the lowlife, Arafat plus. So the Chassam Sofer makes an incredible comment. The Chassam Sofer says, what Rashi means is, because if you speak to him in an insulting, degrading way, Mi shekibel bizyonot nimchalo alavanosov, says the Chassam Sofer. If you shame somebody, his sins are forgiven. And therefore, if you speak to him in a humiliating, degrading fashion, he will not deserve the Esher Makot, because you shamed him. You hear what the Chassam Sofer is saying? So be careful how you talk to somebody, even a Rasha, because if you shame him, then he will not deserve the plagues, because he already received this kapara. Wow. And the Chofetz Chaim says that based on this Chassam Sofer, we see that Bizyonos is the best to Gehenim. Bizyonot is the best to Gehenim. Doesn't cost you any money. There's no physical pain. Someone shames you, and you bite your tongue, you got a ticket to ride. You got your Gehenim. And therefore Hashem had to warn Paroi, be careful, warn Moses. Speak to him b'kavod. Otherwise, he will get his kapara from the shame, and therefore he will not deserve the Esher Makot. So, Exodus 6, Hashem commands Moses, go to Paroi, speak to him, let my people go, and all of a sudden the Torah takes a break, Exodus 6:14, and goes on a sidetrack and lists the family tree of Moshe and Aaron. First of all, why take a break? He's supposed to go to Pharaoh, let my people go, and all of a sudden the Torah changes the diskette, and like a sidetrack mentions what? The family tree of Moses and Aaron. And what's even stranger, Exodus 6:20, it tells us Amram married Yocheved, and she gave birth to him, Aaron and Moshe. Didn't we forget somebody? David. Exodus 6:20. It says Aaron married Yocheved, and she gave birth to Aaron and Moshe. Didn't we forget somebody? Where's Miriam? And why go on a sidetrack? Says Hirsch something amazing. One question answers the other. Moshe and Aaron are about to do spectacular miracles over here. People might think they're demigods or semi-gods. How can they do supernatural miracles? So right before they begin these fantastic plagues and miracles, the Torah takes a side road and says, they had a normal mama and a normal papa. They were born regular children. They're not demigods, they're not semi-gods, even though they're going to do these supernatural miracles. They had a normal papa and a normal mama. Human beings who work for God, but they are not gods themselves. And therefore Miriam is not mentioned, because Miriam didn't do the supernatural miracles. So Torah is dafken mentioning the normal birth of Aaron and Moshe, the miracle workers, to prove that they're human. Since Miriam is not performing any miracles, not yet anyway, so therefore there's no need to what? Mention her. Isn't that beautiful how one question, David, answers another question? Pretty interesting, right? Now, The Torah tells us in verse 23, 623, Aaron married Elisheva, 623. She was the sister of Nachshon. Why is that important? Why is that important? Whose sister she was? The Torah doesn't tell me any stories. Aaron married Elisheva. She happened to be the sister of Nachshon. Why should I care for the year 2020? David, we're in the warring 20s now. We're not in the roaring 20s, we're in the warring 20s. Get it? Why should I care? But the Torah only tells me I need to know for the here and now. So Rashi says, in Exodus 6:23, from here we learn out, when you marry a lady, check out her brother. Well, and that's why Aaron married Elisheva, because she had such a tzaddik for a brother, Nachshon. Because chances are the kids will take after what? The uncle. And you see that Yitzchak married Rivka, and one of the sons took after the uncle. Who was Rivka's brother? Lavan and Esav. It's in the genes, huh? So be careful. You marry a woman, you should investigate her brother, and therefore it mentioned that she was the sister of Nachshon. He's the first guy that what? That dove into the Red Sea, remember? He's the first guy, right? Nachshon. Isn't it strange that this guy should have a name like a snake man? David, isn't that strange? He's not an American Indian. Remember Sitting Bull, Flying Eagle? Why does this great tzaddik Moshe have an Indian name, Snake Man? Nachshon means snake man. Come on. You know that. So the Rechaim HaKadosh tells us that a person's tafkid in life is contained what? In his Hebrew name. Nachshon. The Talmud the Sota says that a snake, whatever a snake eats, even filet mignon or whatever, to him tastes like dirt. The snake has no taste buds. Whatever food he eats tastes like dirt. So this tzaddik's tafkid in life, Nachshon, is to say you're supposed to enjoy this world, but you should know that all the pleasures of this world are like dirt when you compare it to what? Olam Haba. Supposed to live and enjoy the world, but you have to know, stay tuned, the best is yet to come. So he was called Snake Man, because his tafkid, David, was to teach that all pleasures in this world, just like the snake, whatever he eats tastes like dirt, all the pleasures in this world are like dirt when you compare it to Olam Haba. And that was his tafkid contained in his Hebrew name. Now, take a look, please. Please look inside Exodus 6:23, 6:26. This is Aaron and Moshe. See 6:26, David? This is Aaron and Moshe that God spoke to them to let the Jews go. Rashi says sometimes the Torah mentions Aaron first, and sometimes the Torah mentions Moshe first. To teach that what? That they were shkulim. That Moshe and Aaron were what? Were equal in righteousness. Said Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, is that true? Rashi, take a pill and lie down. How could Rashi say that Moses and Aaron were what? Equal in righteousness. We know it's not so. The Torah testifies there never rose a great human being like Holy Moses. What does Rashi mean? So, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein explains with the story of the Rebbe Reb Zusha. Remember him? On his deathbed, he told his Talmidim, I'm afraid. When I meet God, I'm not afraid God will ask me why I wasn't a Vilna Gaon, why I wasn't a Rav Kiveger, why I wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu, but he'll ask me why I wasn't Zusha. So Moshe Feinstein Zatzal says this is what Rashi means. If a person fulfills his spiritual potential in life, he's like Moshe Rabbeinu. If Zusha would live up to be Zusha, that's it. God doesn't expect you to be Moses or the Vilna Gaon or the Rambam, but he expects you to what? Be yourself. Remember there used to be a commercial, David, in the U.S. Army. Be all that you can be. Be all that you can be. So what Rashi means, says the great Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, since Aaron was all that he was meant to be, so he's equal to Moses. Of course not the overall picture. But if you fulfill your potential in life in God's eyes, you're as great as Moses, even though you can't hold a candle to Moses. That's not the point. Be all that you can be. And the Torah testifies that Aaron was all that he can be, fulfilled his potential, as Moses did his. And therefore the Torah says he's equal to Moses. Isn't that amazing? Huh? Powerful message that the Torah what? mentions over here. Now, the Torah goes on and tells us in Exodus 7:19, David. Exodus 7:19. Can you read that in English?
Moses, say to Aaron, take your staff and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt, over the rivers, over the canals, over the reservoirs, and over all the waters of Egypt, over all the gatherings of water, and they shall become blood. There shall be blood throughout the land of Egypt, even in the wood and stone vessels.
So God says to Moses, tell Aaron your bro to strike the Nile. Why couldn't Moses strike the Nile? Says Rashi, because the Nile River protected Moses as a baby when he was in his little basket, he cannot strike the river by blood or by frogs, because the river sheltered him when he was what? Baby. Floating down a basket. Getting this? The river cares who sheltered him. The river knows that you have to pay homage to a river. That's what Rashi says. Makir Toiv. The river doesn't care who's striking it. What's the point of Rashi? What's Hakoras? So Rabbeinu Bachai says Hakoras HaTov is not for the river. My neshama, to get her shleimus hanefesh, has to express Hakoras HaTov. So even though the river couldn't care less who's striking the river, but expressing gratitude to Rabbeinu Bachai is for the person himself, not for the other guy. Even though the other guy doesn't appreciate it, doesn't care, but my neshama, to do her tikkun, must express Hakoras HaTov. So therefore Moses couldn't strike the river, because Hakoras HaTov, he needs that expression, even though the river doesn't know what's going on. And therefore he couldn't strike the river. Moshe, I got a kasha for you. So the river sheltered him as a baby. Didn't Pharaoh shelter him when he was prince of Egypt? Didn't Pharaoh buy him his first bicycle and his first playpen? Who fed him, sheltered him, sent him to Cairo University? How could he strike Pharaoh? If he owes Hakoras HaTov to a river, how much more does he owe Hakoras HaTov to Ramesses? He was the grandpa, right? Who bought him his first chariot, David? Who bought him his first chariot?
His first whip.
Moshe Sabam, Kasha and Bama. I'm surprised you didn't ask this Kasha. David, where am I? Doesn't owe Pharaoh Hakoras HaTov for adopting him and sheltering him? I think he did more for him than the river did. What's the message over here, Moshe? Give up? Yeah. Give up. I'll give you a mashal. If someone picks up a live electric wire and he gets electrocuted, does he blame the Chashmal company? You know, the live wire laying from the storm brought it down. You pick it up and you electrocute. You blame the Chashmal company? Why the heck did you pick up the live wire? Moshe warned him, don't pick up that live wire, you'll be electrocuted. How many times did Moshe warn him and plead with him, let the Jews go? Moshe didn't afflict him, he afflicted. Beautiful. Can you read that, Yehuda?
He afflicted himself.
Moshe tried to prevent him from electrocuting himself. Don't pick up that live wire. That's a beautiful hezbollah. I like it. The opposite, Moshe was saying, hey, Grandpa, don't play with live wires. You get electrocuted. Now, how many times did he warn him? So Moshe didn't plague Pharaoh. Pharaoh plagued himself. And Moshe tried to warn him because he did owe him gratitude. So please don't do that. Don't pick up that live wire. You get burned. But again and again, Pharaoh refused. And look, it's not Moshe's fault. Pretty interesting, right? Now, Moshe turns the water into blood. Exodus 7:22, David. Can you read that?
The Coronas of Egypt are the same by means of their incantations. So Pharaoh's heart was strong and he did not heed them
You hear these guys?
because he had Shem had spoken.
So what did the black magicians do?
Did the same thing.
Why not turn it back to water? Hey, idiot, you have no water to drink, so what are you doing? You're making more blood. Why don't you turn it back to water, David? If you're a black magic woman, but there's only one way. Current events, it's just like our peace partners. I'm telling you, I couldn't make this up. Yesterday, the Emir from Qatar came in with suitcases full of cash to the Hamasniks. They should have more money to send better rockets. Yesterday.
And we let them in.
And we let them in. It's just crazy. They only know one way. They can only destroy. There's no positive. Moshe, you couldn't make this up. Parshat of the week. You're getting all of this money, Israel is letting it through, so build hospitals. No, build rockets so the IDF will come to destroy you. This is the mindset, David. They can't turn it back to water. They're only one way, like our peace partners. They can only destroy themselves. Their hatred for us is so great, they're willing to what? To destroy themselves to destroy us. What a powerful message for current events. Without a Bible quote, David. Exodus 7:22. Otherwise, why not turn it back into water? They can't do that. Remember that song, Can't Help Myself. My hatred is so strong for Israel, can't help myself. What a message. What a message, huh? Now we get to the second one of frogs. David, can you get to that? Exodus 8:2. I wonder if the English is right. Exodus 8:2. Go ahead.
329.
Huh? Yeah.
8:2. Oh, here. Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frog infestation ascended and covered the land of Egypt.
It says this frog ascended. Rashi wonders, there were millions of frogs. It should have said, Hatzfardim, ask Ulpan teacher. How come it says Hatzfadeya, the frog, when there were millions? Remember the movie Came from the Deep? It came from the deep. So the Medrash said there was one huge frog that came out of the deep, and they kept beating it, and beating it. And the more they beat it, the more it split like an amoeba. So the Steipler Rav asked Akasha, so stop beating it. The more you beat it, remember that song by Michael Jackson? Yeah. Beat it, beat it. The more they beat it, the more it multiplied. So David, gee whiz, why don't you what? Stop beating it. Says the Steipler, what's the message for us for the year 2020? When a person goes into a rage, he can't stop himself. They were in a rage, so they continued to beat it. Even though they're self-destructing. You get involved in an argument, right, with your better half. And you get into a rage, and the more you talk, you make it worse, but you can't control yourself. You're self-destructing. That's what anger can do, says the Steipler Gaon on this pasuk. They just couldn't control themselves. To their own detriment. That's how a person is when what? When he becomes angry. When he becomes angry. They asked the great Moshe Feinstein Zatzal how he was able to control his anger. I mean, to meet him 50, 60 years, he never got angry. Rebbe, what's the secret, Rebbe? David, you hear they asked him? He says, when I was a young boy of 12, I was a very angry young man. Very angry. But one day when I became angry, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I couldn't recognize myself. My whole face was contorted, deformed. I never became angry again. The great Moshe Feinstein. Look at yourself when you're angry. You look like a monster. Is that really me? It shocked him. And from that time on, Yaakov, he said, the great Moshe never became angry. His face was contorted and twisted. So this mitzvah, they just couldn't stop beating it, as Michael Jackson says. You have to have the last word. I'll show him, I'll show her. I have to have the last word. Rav Pamela would say sometimes you have to make believe you're deaf. He said when the wife says something, sometimes you have to make believe you're deaf. What? So Moshe Rabbeinu grew up as the prince of Egypt. Hashem enrolled Moshe in a divinely engineered leadership training program, tailor-made for Moshe Rabbeinu. He had to grow up as the prince of Egypt to find out how Egypt works. The trappings of power, the intrigue of the palace, David, so he would know how to push Pharaoh's buttons. Used to be his grandpa. It's all part of God's plan why he had to grow up as a prince of Egypt. So he knows how to talk. Pretty amazing, right? Now, very interesting. The Rambam says that all of these tricks that the magicians pulled was all an optical illusion. Like, what's his name? David Copperfield, when he made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Wow.
He did it. Did he really make it disappear?
No, it had to be an illusion.
It was an optical illusion. So the Rambam claims, Moshe, that all of these magic tricks, demonology, is all a fake. Fake news, optical illusion. So the question that all the Rishonim ask on him is, Rambam, how would you learn Exodus 8, verse 14 and 15? Please read that. Hey, Rambam, they all scream against him, David. You know what the Vilna Gaon says? Philosophia arura, the cursed philosophy, made the Rambam error when he denied demonology, because the text clearly says, take a look, David, Exodus 8, 14 and 15. Please take it away, anybody?
Sorcerers did the same with their inclinations to draw forth the lice, but they could not.
They couldn't do it.
And the lice infestation was on man and beast.
They feel lousy. Why couldn't they bring lice? Verse 15.
The sorcerer said to the Pharaoh, it is the finger of God. But Pharaoh's heart was strong, and he did not heed them.
Why couldn't they bring lice? So Rashi quotes the Midrash that demonology cannot affect a creature as small as a barley. So since the lice are the size of barley, demonology didn't work. But according to the Rambam, that the whole thing is what? A fake anyway, David. Who cares how small it is? Hello, it's all an optical illusion anyway. Rambam, take a pill and lie down. You hear the Kasha, the Vilna Gaon, really, I wouldn't dare. The Vilna Gaon says, the cursed philosophy made the Rambam error when he denied demonology. Because the text says clearly that they couldn't do it. If it's all optical illusion, Rambam, why couldn't they do it? One fake, no matter how small or big the fake is, it's all a fake. Why couldn't they do it? Moshe Hidakasha of the Rishonim and the Vilna Gaon really attacks the Rambam on this. Comes along Rav Hutner, Zechet Tzadik Levracha, and for the Rambam. Of course there was demonology. The text says they couldn't do the lice because demons can have no shlita on creatures as small as life. Of course there was demonology. But when the Rambam came along in the year 1167, centuries later, when he ruled demonology as a fake, it became a fake. He ruled them out of existence. You know what the Footnote is saying? Halacha changes facts on the ground. Halacha changed reality. So of course there was demonology. But when the Rambam in the year 1167 wrote in his legal code that demonology, David, is what? Fake. It's all optical illusion. Then what, Moshe? It became a fake. He ruled them out of existence.
As of 1160?
As 1167, when he wrote his... So according to Rav Hutner, when the Rambam wrote in 1167 his legal code,
That's it, no more.
that's it. It's all a hallucination. Up until his time, it was real. But when he ruled it's an illusion, it had to become an illusion. Isn't that amazing? The holy Rav Hutner comes along and defends the holy Rambam. Right? That's it. But again, Rav Hutner says if you believe in it, it becomes real for you. The Rambam was teaching, if you don't believe in it, it's not real. But a person can create his own reality, even falsehood. Moshe, please hear me. Even falsehood. If you believe in it, For you, it's what? Real and can haunt you. What's the proof? Moshe, what's proof? Yaakov Avinu, for 22 years, he believed that Yosef was dead. Was Yosef dead?
No.
But for him, he was dead. So therefore, real. So the Shekhinah left him. Why did the Shekhinah leave him? Because he was mourning. Why is he mourning? Yosef was not dead. But since he believed Yosef is dead, for him it became what, Yaakov? For Yaakov it became reality. A person can create his own reality, even falsehood. If you believe in it, you give it chiyus. And for you it becomes what? Real. That's frightening. That's frightening. For you it becomes real. Even a falsehood can become real. Right? Who said the great lie? If you keep repeating a great lie over and over again, people start believing that it's true. That's what it is. I think Joseph Goebbels said that. The Etzba Elokim Moshe, please hear me. Look at verse 8:15, David. The magicians admitted it's a finger of God. 8:15, David, you with me, please?
Yep.
What's the message? The lice. If you're having a lousy day, it's all God. What a message. You're having a bad hair day, you're having a lousy day, Etzba Elokim. The magicians acknowledged that. Moshe, isn't that amazing? Otherwise, who cares what they said? This is 3,300 years ago. The Torah only writes what I need to know for the year 2020. So what they're saying is, if you're having a lousy day, lice. Who is it from? Etzba Elokim. It's all God.
Actually, interesting.
God controls and regulates even a lousy day. Wow. So if you're having a bad hair day, it's Etzba Elokim. It's all up to God. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Huh? It's all up to Hashem. Hashem is in charge. So, good day, bad hair day, you missed the bus, you got stuck. It's Etzba Elokim. David, it's not stories. It's for us. And dafke lice. People have lousy days. So they blame their bad luck or their neighbor. Who should they blame?
Himself.
Etzba Elokim. That's pretty incredible, right?
Yep.
That's pretty, right? Pretty interesting. Then we get to the plague of hail. David, hail, hail, the gang's all here. Please turn to Exodus 9:24.
9:24.
Yeah, David. Moshe, take it away. Exodus 9:24. 9:24. I'll wait.
Okay, yep.
I don't know what page it is. It's
336. He bore the Aish. Achas b'toich haboreh. Covered oil. English 24.
Exodus 9:24 in English.
Fire flaming amid the hail, very heavy, such as had never been in the entire land of Egypt from the time it became Egypt.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here, David.
Fire flaming.
Now, there was hail, and inside the hail there was what? Fire. Now, what is hail? It's frozen water. So how could you have fire and water what? Together. Makes no sense. So Rashi said, Nes betoch nes. That fire and water mixed. Because hail is frozen water. So how can there be a fireball inside what? Ice ball. But to do the will of their creator, they made peace. Says Rashi. So my Rebbe Rapam, he said, so what? Well, I'm not an ice ball, and I'm not what? A fireball. What's the message? He says, the Gemara in Sotah says, Ish, a husband, has the letter Yud. And Isha, wife, has the letter what? Hey. So husband and wife are living together in harmony. There's God amongst them. But if they're fighting, you take away the Yud and the Hey, what are you left with? Ish. So fire and water are two opposites. So are men and women. Me and my wife are fire and water. But we have to make peace if we want the Yud and the Hey to be in our marriage. What a message. It's not about the ice balls, David. That's just a mushal. What do you say, mushal? But so happy together, Moshe. Right? Husband and wife are like fire and water, two opposites. Now, Hashem made us that way. But the message is, if the ice ball and the fireball can make peace, then husband and wife have to make peace to get the Yud and the Hey to have Hashem's name. Ish, Isha. Without them, you're left with fire. And we know, David, that Isha, wife, is Gematria Musar. Aleph Shin Hey, Moshe, if you figure it out, 306 is Gematria Musar. The job of a wife is to give Musar to her husband. But it's also Gematria Devash. Isha is also Gematria Devash. Honey, I'm home. So the wife has to give Musar, but the Musar has to be what? In a honey way. Otherwise, it's counterproductive. Isn't that amazing? Pretty incredible, huh? Counterproductive. Now we get a strange pasuk, David. Exodus 9:32. Please look inside. Moshe, please read it in English slowly. Exodus 9:32.
9:32.
So the hail destroyed a lot of crops, right?
Yep.
It destroyed a lot of crops, but
And the wheat and the spelt were not struck, for they ripen later.
the wheat and the what? Spelt were not struck by the hail because what? Who cares? Yehuda, who cares? This is 333 years ago. David, GPS, what the heck is the message? You gotta use the wheat and the spelt were not struck by the hail because they ripen later. Rashi says they're pliable and soft, and therefore they're able to what? Withstand the hail. Unlike verse 31, the one right before that, Moshe.
Flax and barley.
Flax and barley were struck because they were what? Hard and ripe, and therefore they were destroyed. But the wheat and the kusemet were not struck because Rashi says they're soft and pliable. So who cares? Says the great Vapam. What's the message for us? This is speaking to us. We don't care what happened to Egypt then. On interpersonal relationships with people. If you're hard and stubborn, you're going to get broken. But if you're soft and pliable, you will survive. What a message. Only the strong survive. If you're stubborn, Rashi says that the barley, since it ripened earlier, so therefore it was hard, and therefore it got broken. So Rabbi said, if you're hard and stubborn, you get broken. But if you're flexible and soft and pliable, like the wheat and the kusemet, you will be able to withstand the what? The argument, the rage, what's coming your way. Person has to be soft and flexible.
Yep.
But it's easier said than done. But this is the message for us. Pretty amazing, huh? Pretty. If you look at the Haftorah, Dave, you couldn't make this up. This was said by which prophet? Look at the Haftorah, David. It's at the end of the book. I don't know what page.
1208.
1208. This is from the prophet Yecheskel, who said this 2,400 years ago. Now look what he says. Koyomer Hashem.
No, sorry.
That's all.
It's not there.
Page 1208.
Yeah,
No,
totally.
that's
Koyomer Hashem. Thus says God.
So it's Shem.
When I gather at Beis Yisrael. See that? Verse 25. Ezekiel. Haftorah Ve'era.
11:15.
Please read those two verses, 25 and 26, slowly and pinch yourself. Anybody?
So said my Lord Hashem Elokim, when I gather in the house of Israel from the peoples among whom they are scattered, and I shall be sanctified by them in the eyes of the nations, and they shall dwell on their land that I gave to my servant Jacob.
I will be sanctified in the eyes of the nations. There are 50 world leaders from the nations here.
Wow.
And we're reading this Yechezkel, what he said 2,400 years ago. Gee, David, Kwinky Dinky, that we're reading this Haftorah.
Wow.
I mean, you don't need no Bible
All
codes.
Torah is why this one.
It's just amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. I was sanctified when all the world leaders come to see the Yidden back on their land. Moshe, it's amazing. No Bible codes. This week, the leaders are here. And Yechezkel from 2,400 years ago says, I gather my Yidden back, and the Goyim will come to pay homage when they see the Yidden living safely and securely, what? On their land. And look at verse 26.
Next one, let's go.
26, Bakasha, what is your name?
Oh, Elise.
Elise, Bakasha, loud please, 26.
Okay. Then they shall dwell upon it securely.
Who's they? Us.
Us. And build houses and plant vineyards and dwell securely. When I execute judgments upon all who disdain them round about them, then they shall know that I am Hashem their God.
Wow. They build houses and plant vineyards and gardens. I live in Pisgat Zev. There's before and after. Before the 7th Yom Kippur War, Pisgat Zev looked like a barren desert, Moshe. And now it's a blooming Gan Eden. Before and after. We come back, we build houses, and we make the desert bloom. How did Ezekiel know this? He was in Babylon. Israel was smoking ruins. They said, hey, prophet, take a pill and lie down. What are you talking about, prophet?
Wow.
And I just saw a bus go by too. So
He was in Babel.
He was in Babel.
The buses are working.
Jeremiah was with the people watching the Churban, but he had been exiled years earlier in Babylon, Long Island. So he got a WhatsApp from Yirmiyahu, what's happening? Country's in flames. What's he talking about? Building gardens and homes, and the Jews gather together. He's speaking about our time. Elena Hagoyim. Yehuda, what's Elena Hagoyim mean? The eyes of the nations. The 50 nations here. And we read this Haftorah Dafka this week. Gee whiz, Moshe. I don't think it's a coincidence. Pretty amazing. Wow. It's just amazing why we picked this Haftorah. Huh? Now, if you look at verse 3, now Ben Adam, look at verse 2. You see verse 2? Ben Adam.
Son of man.
Son of man.
Set your face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Right.
And
Now-
prophecy against him and against
Now, in the modern Hebrew, you can ask your teacher, Ben Adam means a mensch. Of all the prophets in Tanakh, the only one that's called Ben Adam is Yechezkel. Why is that? And of all the prophets in Tanakh, he's the only one that prophesied where? In Shmutz. By the rivers of Babylon. That's why he had to stand in the river. Because how can a prophet, remember he got his prophecy?
He came here though eventually, didn't he?
Well, he was exiled from here. He died in, his tomb is somewhere in Iraq. He was exiled by Nebuchadnezzar years before the Churban. And he's the only Navi that prophesied where? In Babylon, Long Island. Because in Nebuah you can only get where? That's why why did Yonah take a powder? He ran because he knew that the Nebuah can only come where? In Eretz Yisrael. So therefore he left the borders. But the only Navi to get a Nebuah, besides Yonah, if that was an emergency, outside of Israel was what? Yechezkel. So I think, Moshe, the message is that even if you're in Shmutz Loretz, be a Ben Adam. I mean, what could be the message? He's the only Navi that prophesies in Chutz Loretz, and the only Navi that Hashem calls Ben Adam. So perhaps the message is that even in Chutz Loretz you have to be a mensch, what? I don't know what. Could be. Behave yourself even in Chutz Loretz. I think that's the message that the Navi is pointing out. Now look at verse 3. Verse 3 right after that. David, see that? You just read 2. You read 3.
Oh, sorry.
Speak and you shall say.
Yeah, speak and you shall say.
To Pharaoh. Yeah.
Thus says my Lord Hashem Elohim, behold, I am against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great sea monster that crouches within its rivers, who has said, mine is the river and I have made myself.
So it says Tanim Agadol, the great crocodile. You see that? It says Tanin Hagodol, the great crocodile. Tanin means a crocodile, a giant reptile that lives in the Nile, right? Look at the word Tanim. Let's do some text analysis, Moshe. Where do you have that word Tanin again? Let's go back to the Parsha, please. Let's take a look at Exodus 7, 8. Exodus 7, verse 8. You have that same word. Elise, you have that? Exodus 7, 8. Please read that. Go ahead.
And Moses, Hashem said to Moses and Aaron.
9, go ahead. 9.
When Pharaoh speaks to you, saying, provide a wonder for yourselves, you shall say to Aaron, take your staff and cast it down before Pharaoh. It will become a snake.
Not true. It doesn't say snake, Elise. It says tanin. Hirsch points out it doesn't say snake. It doesn't say nachash. Yaakov, it says tanin. What's a tanin? Crocodile Dundee. So you can't trust the movie. The book is better. Remember the movie they throw down and it becomes a... Turned a crocodile. Because they worship the crocodile. The Egyptians worship the crocodile. So Tanin, look, compare it to the Haftorah. Tanin means a crocodile, doesn't mean a snake. So you can't trust the movie. Remember the movie turned into a snake? The book is better. The book is better.
So it's very hard to get the crocodiles to cooperate.
Okay.
That's why you gotta use the snakes.
But Art Scroll should be true to the text, David. Art Scroll says snake, right? Not so. It doesn't say nachash, it says tanin. But tanin is a crocodile because if you study the Egyptian history, you'll see that they worship, they deify David. Moshe, they deified the crocodile. Crocodile Rock. Okay. So therefore God used that to degrade them. Hey, I'm taking the stick, making a crocodile back into a stick. I'm making your God a joke from your God. It's the crocodile that they worshipped. So the word tanin, they could point out the Upan teacher, please. Ask her how you translate tanin. Okay? She's religious, right? So she'll know that it's not nachash, it's the tanin. Okay.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.